How exciting. Today I have the privilege of chatting to the owner of probably one of the most successful property brands in South Africa, Byron Thomas Properties. Byron, welcome.
Thanks, Gary.
I think I'm going to start a little bit about Byron the man. So we go from, and you can add anything that you'd like to, we go from a BCom graduate at Rao, and then off to London as a stockbroker. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I never wanted to do a degree. I always was entrepreneurial, and I had a passion. I think I read The Wolf of Wall Street, and that started something that got
It's
me
infectious.
Yeah, got me going. And I ended up in London. Things in London were tough at the time, so I stopped being a stockbroker, and I ended up working for a property fund, which then allowed me the ability to channel my energy in the right direction. Things happened for a reason, and I ended up working for the Duke of Westminster, which allowed me to learn from the best and sell some of the most amazing properties in the UK.
And that was international. So your sales experience in the property industry was essentially international at that point.
Yes, that's
dealing
correct.
Across the world.
Yeah, so I'd fly all over the world, meet some very, very influential and powerful property investors, and I got to learn from the best of them.
I was going to say, and what better way to learn? But talking about flying around the world, back in 2006, you found yourself at a certain airport and you picked up a book. And the book was called The Monk Who Sold
His Ferrari.
His Ferrari.
Yeah, so that book I honestly think every person should read. And it boils down to actually just making yourself happy. And I realized at the time, having lived in London for 5 years, that I wasn't happy, and I decided that something had to change. And I was coming back from Hong Kong via Dubai, and by the time I finished the flight, I'd read the full book, and I walked straight into the office, hadn't slept, and gave my resignation in there, and then to come back to South Africa. And that was because I knew South Africa was my home, and
And you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
I still don't know what I want to do, Gary. To be brutally honest.
Well, what you're doing at the moment, without knowing what you want to do, is working really well for you. I just need to put that out there. But you talk about being happy, and I've always kind of believed that very few of us are fortunate enough to be able to get up in the morning and enjoy what we do. You talk about the fact that two things make you happy, and that it's your family, and you talk about helping people. How does that translate in what you do?
So look, when I started the company, obviously I needed a financial element to it to be able to feed my 5 kids. That's a...
God bless you.
So that's always a task in putting them through school. But actually, I was in no man's land when I started the business. I don't know if you know, I was going to Australia, and that fell through. And anyway, long story short, I ended up starting on my dining room table. And the premise was that I wanted to give back, and it was because of what had gone through, what the world had gone through with COVID. And long story short, I mean, I know it sounds cliched, but I really wanted to give a lot back to South Africa.
And that was 5 years ago, not even.
Yeah, so we turned 5, I think, in August.
Yes, so it's a little under 5 years. And not that you should know this, I'm going to ask you for interest's sake though. Have you got any idea, just in the Johannesburg area, how many registered estate agencies there are? Not agents, agencies.
No idea.
So there's just under 4,500 registered agencies, and that's serving Johannesburg. And agents, just over 50,000 registered agents. And that has to bring me to the question. So we're sitting with Byron Thomas Properties, less than 5 years later, 2 or 3 of those years being slap bang in the middle of a pandemic that changed the world as we know it. Yet you're sitting today with one of the most recognizable brands with the most iconic level of success. How does that happen?
So look, I think I was very fortunate in that I've read a lot of business books, and I do try and implement what I read. But the core for our success is one, we have fun.
Yeah.
And we really do have fun. And the biggest thing for us is we've selected the right people to work with us. And I think, once again, it sounds cliche, but the culture in our company is one of a family, and we all mates, and we all have fun. And honestly, a lot of the guys that work for our company came out of COVID having lost their jobs, where they were very high-powered business people, and for certain reasons, the industry collapsed. So we were fortunate to help them, and
And that it strikes a chord, because I've had the privilege of being part of the team, experiencing that culture and that dynamic, firsthand. And the word family is exactly the way to describe it.
And that's what we see in you, Gary. If you take a step back, I mean, everyone in our office absolutely loves you. We refer to you as our wizard. I'm yet to see any bond originator that I've ever dealt with be as on it, as successful, and as passionate about it as you. And that's why everyone approaches us, and I've told them, there's no ways. You're the man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You are the family.
Well, I'm certainly going to carry on being nice to you. I always believe, we can say as much as we'd like about our own businesses, but it's truly the clients that use us whose opinions count. Pop onto Byron Thomas Properties and you'll see no fewer than 375 plus reviews. Reviews are honest. Reviews are based on experience that people had. Byron Thomas Properties presents with a score of 4.9 out of 5. And I think very few businesses for that quantum of reviews can boast that sort of data. And it clearly speaks to the fact that not only what we're talking about and what we believe about the brand is true, but everybody who uses that brand has found the exact same experience to be the case.
So look, I always say if you want to make someone happy, open an ice cream store and you still won't be able to make everyone happy. But for me, the key experience is, one, we have to be as honourable as we can. Two, we're dealing with someone's biggest emotional purchase of their life. And the scary thing is people make a decision based on 15 minutes of walking through a house.
Yeah.
And for me, that is something that we have to take on board. It's a massive, massive, massive life-changing event for somebody. And we've got to be compassionate. We've got to be sympathetic to both parties. And ultimately, it's like when you go to the restaurant, you might have a fantastic meal and the waiter can screw up the whole experience just by bringing you the bill late.
Yes.
And that's something that I instill in everybody, is that, from the moment you deal with us to the moment we actually hand that house over, we ensure we've done absolutely everything we can to make the experience as painless as possible. And also, we want to have a future relationship with everybody.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is testament to what has built our company, is
absolutely.
the fact that it's very personal.
And there's a very powerful video that I watch to remind myself of how things work every so often, and it's called Excellence. And they say the way you do anything is the way you do everything, and it just brings home again the fact that there's no shortcut to anything. Like you said, you could bring the bill late and it just would have, it was great, but the bill came late. And in our industry, there's no place for the buts. Everything has to be just perfect. What do you say to, I think, a message to fellow colleagues out there, potentially that are looking at the brand and saying, but how do they do that? What is it that you say, if you could impart 1 or 2 points to fellow colleagues in the industry? Good times, bad. We're in different times now. I think that we were looking to forward to very good times, but a turmoil with the US and things. What is it that you say to your own team, and words for colleagues out there in the industry about their job as property practitioners?
So look, I'm a contrarian. I always say we make more money in a bad market than we do in a good market, and that's because there's more stock to trade. So I'm a very bullish person by nature. When times are tough, obviously emotions play a vital role, but that's when a very hungry agent will make more money. And I think it all boils down to, and I always say, discipline and desire. There's no substitute for hard work. Yes. There's no substitute for being ethical. So yeah, it's about doing the basics. And fundamentally, what I instill in our agents is techniques that I've learnt over years, not necessarily through myself, but a lot of reading. And I'm there for them. They're my clients, and ultimately the agents are are my brand, and I make sure that they are looked after.
Yeah. In my travels, which I used to do a lot in my previous career, which was obviously in corporate, I stayed at a particular hotel in Cape Town often and became friendly with the general manager, the chap by the name of Johan. And I asked him one morning, I said, how does your staff maintain this level of professionalism and friendliness, etc., consistently? And he said, Gary, I've got one rule. I treat my staff in the same way as I would like them to treat my guests. And I've certainly seen that at the Byron Thomas office. I mean, I've seen videos of you yourself with your son Cooper out knocking on doors, introducing yourself, and just as you said earlier, it's about the basics, and you certainly roll your sleeves up. And I think part of your success, if I speak as an outsider, is the fact that you don't ask anybody to do anything, that you don't lead from the front end.
Yeah, so, no one's better than anybody else. Yeah. And ultimately, I know it's tough out there. I know that, the world's in turmoil, South Africa's always in turmoil, but we can only look forward. If you look back and we look in the rearview mirror, we'll never go anywhere. So for me, it's about doing the basics. It's about my mantras, which one is persistence beats resistance, and the other thing is streams make rivers. So for me, I always want to add value, and be it just going and helping a person out with some advice on what to do to the house, when not to spend money, or if they're in financial trouble, if we can get them out of, we trade them out of the financial stress. I want to sit down or put my head down on a pillow at night knowing that I've done absolutely everything that I can as best as I can, and that way I know in my heart of hearts that I can't do more than that, and it will be fine.
And from that, the business takes care of itself.
Well, yeah, and most importantly, I think there's no substitute for word of mouth as an advertising platform, and ultimately that's what I instill in our agents, is to give that absolute, profound sense of care, professionalism in everything that they do, so that the experience is world class.
Absolutely. Well, it feels like a few weeks ago that we were saying Happy New Year, and it's literally almost the first half of 24 that's gone. But there's certainly a lot of water to flow under the bridge from now, end of April, through until the end of the year. Your take, the way you see 24, property market, interest rates for the rest of the year?
So I'm rubbing my palms. And the reason I'm rubbing my palms is there's a number of factors that are working in our favour. Firstly, there's this huge call to action for everyone to come back to Joburg and work from the office space. Secondly, we're seeing with the global pressure that the cost of living overseas has become too high, and there's a fortune of people coming back to South Africa, which is, I personally feel, going to really bring a lot of demand back into the market for Johannesburg. The third thing which we're seeing from a seller's point of view is that there's a lack of stock, which means that the prices, in theory, should go up. So from a sentiment point of view, yes, it's hard, but what we're seeing at the forefront is that there's so many green shoots.
Yeah.
We feel we're going to have a fantastic year. And what's interesting about being an estate agent is we're normally ahead of the curve. We normally feel what's happening in the market and where the economy is going. And there's definitely an underlying positivity coming out through South Africa, despite all the press, and despite the VAT potential increase. We definitely are bullish that the year's going to end off strong.
That's awesome, and I think banks have definitely playing their part at trying to be innovative. They're trying to be easier to do business with.
Definitely.
Apps have recently decreased minimum entry requirements in terms of documents. I think they're starting to understand that they need a lot less to make really good decisions than what they've thought they needed in the past. So everything is seeming to just move forward in the right way for the right reasons, and to achieve the right results.
100%. I think what's important to note is the banks used to be very arrogant, and they made it so hard for a buyer to buy a property when it should be the easiest experience. And there's definitely an upturn in and I'm sure you've seen it in the response time for a grant.
Yes, absolutely.
And obviously that gives us a level of comfort that the deal's secured. And furthermore, I think the rates are just unbelievable at the moment, which for buyers is a great time to buy. I mean,
it's absolutely amazing.
We're seeing staff rates
Yeah.
coming through from a residential bond point of view, which is unheard of. So
And
why not
I
take
see
advantage
that.
of that?
Clients sometimes, bank employees saying, well, I've got a staff rate, but can you see if you can get better?
And you do.
And you know, and we have. And you know, a year ago, I would have, you know, needed to put them on mute and chuckle, and then pick the call up again. But now it's a reality. Banks are seeing good business for what it is, and it's just altogether fantastic time to be in the industry, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's even interesting, the likes of Nedbank putting a person in our office.
Yeah.
As a support structure, and the positivity that they are portraying into our office with regard to where their you know, their foresight is into the market, their performance levels, what their pitfalls are, and there are so many green shoots coming out that I feel that South Africa is the place to be.
Well, South Africa is a place to be. If you're in property, or if you're looking for a property, or looking to sell a property, certainly Byron Thomas is the place to be. It's been fantastic chatting. I always get a lot of out of our chats. It's amazing. This is the first of many, I hope. And it's been a pleasure to have you here this afternoon, Byron. Thank you so much.
Very grateful, and yeah, we look forward to a long and successful relationship with Phoenix Bonds. We're very grateful for what you've done for us.
Thank you,
and I
Byron.
say that with all the love in the world.
Thank you. Thanks.